The Toronto Blue Jays are officially back in a playoff spot. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 131 of Buds and Blue Jays. This is your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm Jesse Burrell. That's Riley McConnell. And today on our show, we've got a lot to talk about. The Blue Jays continue their trip against some subpar teams. And although we're winning series, we're still not getting the sweeps and the results we want after taking 2 out of 3 against the lowly Oakland Athletics. We're going to touch on that, what this means as the calendar gets deeper into September. Are the Blue Jays officially going to be a playoff team? And then we have thoughts on the player performances as well, including Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Chris Bassitt, the boys from Buffalo are up and at it, and so much more in this episode. But before we dive in deep to it, remember our show is free. We're available on all platforms. So if you're watching us on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel and all that fun stuff, and stick with us as we get through the stretch run into the playoffs, Riley. With all that being said, Riley, how are we feeling now after the series against Oakland?
Jesse, this is on paper, it's a sweep every time. I feel like you look at who they brought on the rubber. Medina, who came back from the Yankees. Same with that Waldashuk guy. And the other guy was a trade piece too. JP Sears. So 3 guys that kind of were in the last 2 years when they were doing that dumpster fire. They held their own, man. I will give them that. We did not muster up a ton in game 3. And we took advantage of weak bullpen in game 2. And then, of course, like the Blue Jays have done this year, they give us a little flair for the dramatics. Game 1, we go into extras. We took care of business, but it also wasn't without like a little bit of drama. There was a 2-run home run. We at that point had a 3-run lead. We rallied great in extras. And, it was a little bit of a flair for the dramatics. We ended up closing out, winning game 1, won a 7-1 ball game 2. And then, Jesse, today, we just couldn't get the job done. Like you said, Texas lost. We're still in a playoff spot. So I'm feeling good. But, dude, the schedule here and the next week is going to get real tough. So we have to basically figure it out. I mean, we kind of know who we're going to probably be rolling with for the rest of the year. And I want to see the guys that should be playing every day play every day.
I'm with you on that, Riley. I want to run some math to you. The Blue Jays playoff odds. Last episode we did, they were around 38% to make the playoffs. They are now over the 65-ish range on the playoff odds. So Vegas thinks the Blue Jays should be one of these playoff teams. We will see. And at the start of the road trip, Riley, when the Blue Jays were playing these weaker teams, the Colorados, the Oakland, and soon to be Kansas City, you said the Blue Jays need to go 9-3 in these games. Anything less than that is unacceptable. Well, we've gone through those 3 series and we have our 3 losses. We've gone 2 wins, 1 loss in all 3 of these series. So against Kansas City, Riley, it's got to be a sweep, right? Like we have to sweep them.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I totally think that we should be able to. I thought we should have and could have swept both the Rockies and the Athletics, but that's not how it came down in game 2 of the Rockies series. And then in game 3 today, we didn't, I can't say we didn't close it out. We never had a solid lead or anything like that. But Jesse, I mean, for how competitive this American League wild card is, I mean, I'm not going to feel comfortable unless we sweep the Royals, because God knows how the Rangers, the Mariners, the Astros, those teams are going to be in the next 5 to 7 days. I mean, those are 3 teams right there that can go on an 8-game win streak almost just like that. I know they got stiff competition too, but they're good ball clubs. We haven't been able to put a huge string of wins together. I mean, hey, consecutively, whatever. I mean, I would love to sweep the Royals. That would really look good on us, man. And I think, 9-3, that puts us where we need to be. It sets us up to play these harder teams, these divisional matchups that's eventually going to put us into the postseason.
Okay, Riley, I agree with you here. I want to give you some math because it wouldn't be a Buds and Blue Jays episode with a little bit of math going to you. Looking at the schedule, Riley, after this series against Kansas City, the Jays play 4 against Texas, which might be, no, I won't even say might be. It's the biggest series of this season. Those 4 games between the 11th through the 14th. Get to Rogers Center, cheer on the Blue Jays. They need you. But then after that, we have 3 against the Red Sox, and then we have 2 separate series against the Yankees and Rays, once at home, once on the road. If the Blue Jays win all these series, 2-1, and then split the series against Texas, the Blue Jays will finish with a record of 91-71, which is 91 wins. Is that good enough to get us into the wild card race? I think so, but it's going to be close. And in order for the Blue Jays to do that, Riley, that means they need to play the rest of the season at a 99 win pace. With what you've seen from this team in Oakland and in Colorado, are you confident the Blue Jays can do that?
Jesse, you spit those numbers at me, and you say it like that, and I'm gonna say no. We're gonna have to play better ball than what we've been doing.
It's gonna be hard to do.
Like baseball is 162 games, man. You're gonna have hot times, you're gonna have cold times, but I mean, we just simply have to play better ball. Whatever's going to get us into the postseason. And if those numbers are true to the factor, sometimes, that's how baseball works. They're not. Sometimes there's a little bit of luck. But if we're just going totally and being like, mathematicians here on this one and nothing else, no luck matters, then no, we're not good enough to get into the postseason.
And that's what's going to suck here. The Blue Jays need something to go right. We either need the Rangers to keep going through a free fall or something, but the Blue Jays simply need to be playing better baseball than they have right now if we're going to be playing in October. Riley, I guess before we get into the player performance, I guess you kind of already answered it, but true or false, the Blue Jays will be playing in October this year.
I still believe deep down that we will be playing October baseball, but a lot still needs to go our way. Not from our side. From our side, whatever, we'll take care of ourselves. But other teams got to drop some close games too that are in this wild card race.
Just think those three teams, Seattle, Houston, and Texas, are going to be beating up on each other. But the downside is all of them get to play Oakland again. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm with you, Riley. I believe that the Blue Jays can get there. It's just I really want to see this team start to hit its stride and hit its stride soon. With that being said, Riley, let's get into this series that was against the Oakland A's, and let's start talking about some of the notable player performances. I don't know about you, Riley, but the player that caught my attention the most this series in Oakland was the performance that Chris Bassitt put together in Game 2. He went 8 shutout innings in a revenge game, I'd say, back at the Oakland Coliseum. 8 innings pitched, 7 hits, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts, no walks on his 97 pitches. We did allow quite a bit of hard contact, but for the most part, they found gloves. Chris Bassitt, that's his second start in a row now where he's gone 8 innings. He has just been phenomenal. He's had his blowups this year, but he is now second in the American League in quality starts behind only Garrett Cole of the Yankees. I think you mentioned pre-show here that he's best in the American League in wins, which I don't care about pitcher wins, but hey, you got to be doing something right if your team is able to get some wins behind you. And so Chris Bassitt is really putting it together when it matters most, and he gets our official thumbs up. Oh, +2, Riley, he got the bullpen to rest. After a dramatic series in Colorado, an extra innings game in Game 1, Chris Bassitt able to go 8 innings to give the bullpen a bit of a break is going to do good things for this team going forward.
I think it was totally on the menu for Chris Bassitt to go deep into this ball game. Jesse, he did everything he could in this one, and gave up the one blemish on his line. But other than that, I thought Bassitt was great. Sub 100 pitches. He's been an absolute workhorse this year for us. And I did check his stat pages, his Baseball Reference, compared it. This guy didn't come up as a spring chicken. This guy was a late bloomer with Oakland, and obviously last year with the New York Mets. Comparing and looking at his season with the Mets last year, easily his best season was with the New York Mets last year. And I think that this season is going to look a lot better when everything's said and done. He's going to surpass an innings pitch here within, I think, 2 starts, especially
well on his way.
Especially when he puts in 8 innings. I mean, that's gonna get the job done, man. And obviously he shut down a weak club, but he did what he had to do, because if that goes any other way, then you're not going to use Bowden Francis for 1 inning of work. You're going to use the bullpen again. And I know that he did give up some hard contact. Yes, they found gloves, but I still feel like, as far as a pitch to contact guy goes, with the outfield and infield he has, the defense behind him, I feel like Chris Bassitt's just, hey, I was stoked when we signed this guy, man. I mean, he is exactly the type of pitcher that's going to do well with the Toronto Blue Jays, especially with the impact pieces he has behind him. Hey, quality start, 8 innings, sub 100 pitches. He did He did everything right in this. One earned run, whatever.
He
First
does
thumbs up.
what good pitchers are supposed to do against bad matchups. And the way Chris Bassett pitches, like the way he mixes everything up, can just absolutely fool hitters sometimes. Riley, let's talk about the little youth movement that the Blue Jays have going on here. It's wild that we are playing in these competitive games in September, and our lineup is featuring regulars like Davis Schneider, Spencer Horwitz, Ernie Clement, even Mason McCoy has got into the field a little bit here. Let's talk about the Buffalo boys because all of them have done quite well. Davis Schneider has just continued his torrid streak. We've talked about him every single episode. He hit another home run in this series on an 0-2 pitch on a high fastball late into this game. His OPS is now the best in 15 games through Blue Jays history for a player's first things. Nothing else more to add. He is great. Get him in the lineup every day. Spencer Horwitz, we didn't really touch on it after the Colorado series, but I think I really like this kid. I like what he can do. I think his swing, Riley, is just beautiful. I hate his stance, love his swing. The way he comes through the zone and really attacks the baseball. He took a few pitches on the outside part of the plate, drove him the other way. And Ernie Clement, Riley, you touched about it. I know you like his defense. He has made some slick plays. I've been mostly impressed with the bat so far. He's had really good bat to ball skills from Ernie Clement, and John Schneider's been putting him 7th in the order for these last few days. And he kind of looks like he is just a guy who belongs. So out of the Buffalo boys, Riley, Schneider, all these guys, what's your takeaway?
Oh man, exciting players to watch. Obviously, I've known about Clement for a while. I never had him stocked. He's not a 23-year-old prospect. He's in his later mid-20s. But out of any of them, I've talked about Schneider extensively. Of course, he's the only Blue Jay in this series to hit a home run. Go figure. And also just missed, hit a wall scraping double. That's how good Davis Schneider is. I won't take up 5 minutes of your time to talk about him. I'll take a shorter amount of time to say how much Ernie Clement has impressed me. So slick defensively. Love those quick hands. He's a great middle infield type guy. He's got the wheels. And man, what is it with the Blue Jays putting bat on the ball? I think at one point, I don't know if he still is. At one point, he was batting over 500 for us, man. And that's just a matter of putting bat on the ball. Ernie Clement, if he's in the lineup, he's doing things for us, man. He drove in a run in the losing effort today too. He's a guy who's put bat on ball. He's collected his hits. He's played good defensively, and I mean, I'm sure if he needed to be aggressive enough on the base pass, he's got the foot speed that he can do, some of the more riskier moves. I'm not saying go out and steal a ton of bases, but I'm saying he could probably take the extra first to third on a ball hit to right field. He's an advantage player for us. He's a good tool. And yeah, I like Horowitz too. And
I really do.
And sadly, like Heineman, he had 2 walks in the game today. He's only up here, because we got sad news later in the episode, of course. But hey, if he does that in his 2 plate appearances, that's 1,000 on base percentage. I don't know how much time we're actually going to see. This could be a heavy workload for Alejandro Kirk for the rest of the year. But as far as guys like Clement, Horowitz, and Davis Schneider, I mean, one of them might sit out of the lineup. Hopefully not Davis Schneider, but you're going to see those guys in rotation being platooned a lot for the rest of this year.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that question. Bo Bichette is scheduled to be back. If not Friday, it will be Saturday against the Kansas City Royals. Bo Bichette's going to take his spot back at shortstop, which means Ernie Clement is likely going to the bench here. And then you have to choose. Santiago Espinal, Riley, has actually been pretty good this past series. A lot of hits. He had a couple doubles. He's really been attacking the fastball, and the Blue Jays haven't quit on Espinal yet, so I don't know if they will. There's a chance Ernie Clement gets sent back down when Bo Bichette and I guess when Matt Chapman comes back as well. And then my thought is when Brandon Belt recovers from his little stomach bug that he's got going on, I'm assuming Brandon Belt goes right back into the lineup. What do you do with Spencer Horwitz at this point? What do you do with these guys when the Blue Jays get healthy?
I mean, I feel like Espinal has hit really well. There's no way we're going to send it. It seems that's impossible to happen. Espinal's not getting sent down, but he's played well. We need a catcher, so it's not going to be Hyman. I think the odd man out is probably Spencer Horowitz. That's my thought. It could be Clement, but I really like the grind that he's put on in his and basically how he's played since he came up with us.
Yeah. Mason McCoy is the real answer.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Bypassed. I guess we were forgetting the guys from Buffalo. He's also got the least amount of playing time out of the the four guys there. So not a surprise. He has basically the same position comps as Clement anyways. Maybe a little more versatile in the field than Schneider. Some good speed. Yes, the power's there, but not proven yet at the major league level, really. So it'll be him. But I mean, Davis Schneider is here to stay. Unless he goes on a very stale run next year, he will cease to be sent down. And as far as Ernie Clement goes, he's my type of ball player. I think he has proven that he deserves a spot, even if it is just, a bench player. He deserves to be here right now.
Yeah, and then I want to talk about two other guys on the roster that might affect this, and that's Cavan Biggio and Whit Merrifield, who are essentially not really playing for the same role, but they kind of are. Whit Merrifield's been in a little bit of a funk lately, Riley. He has won for his last 15, and he hasn't really looked that good, to be honest. His WRC plus is now just a complete 100 on the season, and John Schneider still has Whit Merrifield hitting 4th in this lineup. I think it's time to change that. And on the other side, Cavan Biggio, Riley, has really stepped up. In fact, John Schneider started him twice in the series against left-handed pitchers, and he's actually hit against the left-handed pitchers, which is wild to see, but a testament to show you how good Cavan Biggio has been lately. He had a hit in game 3 today too, which I thought was going to start a rally before replaced in a double play. So are we seeing the end of Whit Merrifield as an everyday player and being overtaken by Cavan Biggio or some of these other players here? Or what's your take on this?
I mean, Whit Merrifield for a while was probably one of the hottest hitters in baseball. Mm-hmm. But I like to run guys running with the torch right now. It's Cavan's turn. I mean, he has not really proven himself that much since his rookie campaign. And I'm not saying that, this is a small sample size. I mean, he had a 2-hit game and he was, I think, on board. He had a 3-walk game. That's something Cavan's supposed to be able to do as well. But he was on base a ton. And Jesse, man, I know I told you this, and it's something that impresses me. I love a lefty that can hit a lefty because it's something in baseball you don't see a lot. I know that we're talking about Oakland, and one of them was off one of the starting left-handed pitchers. The other was off a relief pitcher. So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but he's hitting against the opposite hand, and he's hitting the ball hard. I mean, Jesse, I really like what I've seen out of Cavan. If Whit's not the guy right now, I mean, I think it was ridiculous that he's batting that high right now when you have the guys in the lineup that we do right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just kind of looking at the player lines. I mean, well, that's a sacrifice for Whit. I mean, he did nothing for damage in the 7-1 victory. He was shut out. He was shut out in the loss, and then game 1 where he was hitting behind Horowitz, he did collect a walk. I mean, that's kind of not good enough for Whit. And I mean, if Whit Merrifield's batting 4th, you need a really good reason to bat him 4th. I liked him at the top of the lineup when he was doing really good things. He's not doing those really good things right now. Get our guy Cavan Biggio in. He's playing some very good ball, and he deserves to be an every other day kind of guy.
I agree, Riley, very much. It is very important. Look, we are all systems go. I understand that if you feed out your best 9 players, Whit Merrifield is probably one of those best 9, but I don't think he's one of your best 9 right now. And we need to have the guys who are putting it up right now in the lineup. Speaking of guys who are not really putting it up right now, Riley, let's touch on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. a little bit. We've talked about his season a lot over the course of the year, how it's interesting. You look under the hood, some of the exit velocity numbers are all still there. And on paper, he looks like he's still the guy who he was last year, or the guy he was close to in his MVP season. But Riley, his Fangraphs WAR is 0.4. There are only 16 qualified hitters that are lower than that on the team. He's also hit into 46 double plays since the start of last season, Riley, the most in the majors. In fact, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has hit into more double plays before the age of 25 than any other player in Major League history.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said when I saw that too.
Wow.
The ground outs are a real problem with him, but he hits the ball so hard that when he hits it right out of an infielder, it's tailor-made. So you kind of take the trade-off with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. too. We've talked about the swing decisions. Sometimes they look better. He hit a fastball in Colorado to his pull side, which I love to see. And then he had an at-bat in this series where he's just waving at pitches in the other batter's box. So what's your take here on Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Riley? How's it going to turn out?
I mean, for one, we're talking about a guy who's supposed to be, and we've seen him be, a premier run producer in this game. I mean, we saw that in his runner-up MVP season. I mean, we've seen him do that before, so it's frustrating that we see this kind of Vladdy. The double play numbers don't get me wrong. I mean, I think Reggie Jackson has the most strikeouts in Major League history, and he's got over 500 home runs. There's a trade-off somewhere. But this year, for the lack of offense Vladdy has put up, the swing decisions, like, it's okay. Like, it's kind of, you got to ask yourself, Jesse, and there's no right or wrong answer, but where's the trade-off? It's certainly not just over 20 home runs. It's certainly not a below one wins above replacement. Like, I mean, we're talking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. here. We know what he can do. He hasn't come close to that bar. Everyone and their grandma who watches the Toronto Blue Jays and has paid attention since the COVID shortened season has had their eye on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And everyone has set their bar. No one, wherever you set your bar, there's no way that he has reached that bar. You could have set your standards low, but I can guarantee you that he has failed those expectations still. I mean, it's not abysmal. He's still a great defensive first baseman. He had a play. I don't know which game it was, but it made me want to rip my hair out. If he didn't throw that runner out at third, when there's a ground ball hit first, I mean, hey, good heads up play to get the lead runner. Great defender. He doesn't make that play, and I might throw the remote through the television kind of stuff. But I mean, good defensively. He's sneaky okay on the base pass, except for the fact that he doesn't run anything out. That's a whole other topic.
Let's get into that a little bit, because he did it here in the Oakland series. He hit a fly ball to the wall, and he stands there and just admires it, and he watches it. It didn't go out. He had one in Colorado too, Riley, where he hit one and thought it should be gone. It didn't go out. That's been the story of Vladimir Guerrero's season all year. Hits the ball hard, just doesn't go as far as you think it does, which is something I want to dive into the offseason to figure out why that's happening, but we'll worry about that then. But a couple times he's just stand there and pimped it. And we saw, this was back in the Colorado series, but we saw John Schneider publicly talk to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And I guarantee you, this was not the only time they've had this conversation. We are in September. Like, I understand if you are winning 7-1, you're down 7-1. Okay, just jog it out a little bit. It's a one-run game. It is late. Your season is literally on the line. That's when you want to see these players put up the effort. And when you see stuff like that, Riley, the stuff you can control, that's what drives me nuts. And I think we saw some of that from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. here.
I mean, then with, like, Jesse, on that note, man, we start to get into the mindset of a ball player and the character clause of what makes certain ball players the way they are. If I'm to set, like, the top of the bar, a Shohei Ohtani might be the A+ tier of baseball personalities. I mean, and then on the bottom, I'm just probably going to take from around the league. A lot of the people around the league would say a Tim Anderson, maybe a Manny Machado on the bottom for character clause.
Sure, yeah.
Hey, that's just what I hear from probably teams around the league. But where would you put Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? I mean, he's not a violent or yippy person, really, but that's not, I mean, not running balls out. It's not being a good teammate in a lot of ways. It's being selfish. Yeah, it looks cool when you pimp a home run, but you know what else is cool, Jesse, is legging those balls out and end up being able to score the winning run for your team because the guy in the on deck circle or in the hole drives you in because you ran out a ball that got down. So I mean, he has so much. For a guy who has already proven himself in this league, Jesse, he has so much more to prove. It's almost a paradox right now with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in this season he's having, man, because you just would have thought there'd be so much more.
Yeah, and these guys who are coming up from Buffalo, Spencer Horwitz, David Schneider, they're running hard. They're doing all the right things, right? Maybe Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just needs some pressure. I don't know what it is, but he needs something, and that needs to change, because if he's going out at all out, the Blue Jays are more likely going to go all out, which is exactly what we need right now. Riley, before we get into some other minor news and notes, we got to talk, I guess, the Danny Jansen injury here. And this is bad. This happened against the Colorado series, but he has got a finger injury, Riley. And I looked this up. Most of the time for this type of injury, the Blue Jays haven't confirmed this yet, but it does seem like it's going to be about 6 to 8 weeks for Danny Jansen, which, if you're just doing the math, we've only got about 4 weeks left of September, which means if Danny Jansen's coming back this year, the Blue Jays will have to be in the World Series. And Danny Jansen did joke about that. He said, hey, maybe I'll just come back and be World Series MVP. And if that happens, that'll be a great story, because one, the Blue Jays are World Series winner, and two, Danny Jansen is healthy and having a good part. You heard Taylor Heineman was called up as a mistake. It seems like Alejandro Kirk is going to get the bulk of the appearances at starting catcher now. What are the other fallouts from the Jansen injury here?
Well, first of all, I'm ticked, man. If you've been listening to this pod, if you've been watching Buds and Blue Jays, man, like I'm an advocate for, get Danny Jansen a full-time job in the major leagues. At this point, I feel so bad, man. He goes on these cold spells. He gets red hot to the point where I've heard non-Blue Jays related channels accounts say that he's one of the best hitters in baseball. Compare him to a Mike Trout, for instance. I don't know if this was last year or whenever, but when he's good, he's great. The guy, again, he's not going to pad his stats this year again. And he's had his best offensive season, and the amount of games doesn't even, it doesn't even amount to what he should be playing. And it sucks. I'm not saying that Heineman's not a good catcher, but he's certainly no Danny Jansen. You can't replace a bat like that, man. Oh, it's not devastating. I do trust Kirk. I think that he had a pretty good series. But I mean, he just, like, the power and the speed aspect isn't there. I mean, defensively, Kirk really had a great series behind the plate, actually made some good frames. But we're still looking at Danny Jansen. I'm looking at Danny Jansen as one of the elite hitting catchers in this league. Maybe not in the average departments, but certainly for the power. He's got a lot of unique tools, and he is on his own kind of level when it comes to what he does behind the plate and what he does at the plate. So, dude, it's a tough loss if he comes back in his world, and if he's miraculously is the World Series MVP. Honestly, wouldn't surprise me. If you're going to talk about clutch ball players, Danny Jansen is a clutch guy. So let's get there so Danny Jansen can, take us the rest of the way, I guess.
Yeah, in the meantime, Alejandro Kirk is going to have to show us something with the bat. He has been good the past 2 weeks, so I will give him that. He has been driving the ball with a little bit more authority. We're going to need that, because we can't have a zero offensively out of the catcher spot in the lineup. So we need Alejandro Kirk to, hey, it's now or never, Alejandro Kirk. This is the time to do so. Riley, the other two pitchers in this series, if there was anything you wanted to touch on them, Jose Barrios, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 84 pitches, had 4 hard hit balls against him. And Hyun-Jin Ryu, 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 Ks, 77 pitches, 6 hard hits against him. Did you have a thought about either two of their performances against Oakland?
Yeah, I just kind of scratched my head at Barrios because, 4 hits and 3 of them go out. He made a hell of a pickoff move that probably, I don't know if it wins us the ball game, but if he doesn't pick off the runner, the next guy, Noda, hits a home run. So, I mean, if you do your math, like, that's another run in the box score that probably doesn't get us to extra innings. I don't know, but 3 home runs given up, man. And one of them was close. I think probably 2 of them were no doubters. That's just a trend with Jose Barrios.
Yep.
That is simply what you get with him. As far as Hyun-Jin Ryu goes, I mean, it's definitely not a stinky outing for him. 5 innings pitched and only 2 earned runs. Like, he's got a really crafty delivery. Obviously, it's funny, Hyun-Jin Ryu was gone for so long that you forget kind of how uniquely he pitches. But it's like Oakland has never seen a guy that throws as soft as he does, and he gets him. So I don't know how many strikes that Ryu got called that were in the zone. They were strikes, but that the Oakland hitters got caught looking at, man. And they were not being overpowered, man. It was just the way he pitches is great. I won't even say he's going to bounce back his next start. I'd like to see him go 6 innings. He ran into a little bit of trouble. That's the way it happens sometimes. I mean, he's still very aged. I'm sure he's, as healed as he is, whether he's going to be back to prime Hyun-Jin Ryu is so yet to be determined because we're still dealing with a small sample size this season.
Yeah, 5 and dive seems to be the plan for Hyun-Jin Ryu, kind of what they had for Yusei Kikuchi at the first half of this season. Jose Barrios, Riley, has given up 2 home runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. So that's 10 home runs allowed in his last 5 starts. Not ideal for Jose Barrios. His ERA has jumped from 3.38 up to 3.68 in that span. So not what you want to see as we get to the playoffs for Jose Barrios. I still think Barrios and Ryu are our 4 and 5 starters. I think Bassett, Kikuchi, and Gausman are almost clearly ahead of these guys here. Anything else you want to add on the starters before we move on to some news and notes?
Yeah, I think, next start, Jose Barrios, he is 1 strikeout off of 1,200. It appears.
Oh, nice.
No, not one. He'll get to 1,200 next season. That's a math there. Let's just skip what I said there. I wish he was at 1,500, but that's just simply is not happening. Let's move off the starters and on to the next.
All right, I'm just gonna fire through these news and notes, Riley. Feel free to touch on any of them if they catch your attention. Chad Green is back. He came back for the Rockies series. He got blown up in his first start, but then seemed to pitch better after coming back. He was good in Colorado. He was fine here in this one. Davis Schneider was the only Toronto Blue Jay to hit a home run in this series here. And some injury updates. Bo Bichette, as said earlier in the episode, is likely to be back this weekend against Kansas City. Matt Chapman is still having some trouble. He still can't close his fist properly and still can't close a bat. Still might be some time before we see Matt Chapman. As mentioned, Danny Jansen is likely done for the year. Taylor Heineman was up in his place. Brandon Belt left the first game due to back tightness. And then it was later found out that he has a stomach virus and he literally has the shits for Brandon Belt. So tough to play baseball when that's happening to you. Salem Field in Buffalo caught on fire, and so have the Buffalo Bisons. As before losing a game today, the Buffalo Bisons had won 8 games in a row. There seems to be good things happening down in AAA. And then 2 more things, Riley. 1, Bowden Francis looked good. I think he is turning into a trusting reliever. I'd be curious to see what the Blue Jays do with him next spring training. And Genesis Cabrera finally allowed his first run as a Blue Jay. I think he did that in Colorado, but he also happened again here in this series. So, Riley, any takeaways or thoughts on all of that?
Honestly, just the only takeaway, Jesse, and it's because we've been so fortunate up to this point in the year, the past little while, man, as we've had such a good run, with staying healthy, our players staying healthy, knock on wood. This is kind of where we're at right now. But I mean, Bell will be back soon. Whatever Chapman's dealing with, there are guys to fill his role. Honestly, for right now, I don't know what the situation with Matt Chapman is as far as where he's going to play next year. So it's almost fine. I'm fine. Listen, I love Matt Chapman. He's my favorite player in the MLB, but we're talking about winning ball games right now, and he's not on the field. So I'm going to look at other players that can potentially fill that role as the third baseman. And Davis Schneider rocks. That's just another, he is a fantastic ball player, a grit grind type of guy that gets the job done, man. And I know there was more injuries. Bo Bichette not going to have 200 hits this year, robbed because of stupid injuries, but it's not like a video game. We can't turn those things off, Jesse.
It'd be great if we did. But we said that coming into the year this year. We're like, look, the Blue Jays have been actually pretty healthy. If you look at the rotation, Riley, I know this is kind of late in the episode to mention this, but we've used 7 starters this year, and that's been it. Our 5 guys that are in the rotation now, Alek Manoah, and then we started Trevor Richards for 3 games. So I don't even know if you want to count it for the bullpen day. That's it. That's all we've used for our starting rotation. So we have, I guess, kind of stayed healthy, at least on the pitching side in a way. That'll do it for episode here today, though. I have nothing else to add. I was going to look up some stuff for episode 131 for a favorite, like for a stats and stuff, but Fangraph seems to not be working for me right now. So we will get the war leaderboards and stuff for the next episode. Riley, was there anything else you wanted to say before we get this series going against Kansas City?
I'll just make one up. 131, the amount of strikeouts that Sean Green had in his first full season for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Sure. Sounds good. We'll buy that.
Do not look that up. I don't even know if Sean Green struck out that many times. Remember, Blue Jays fans, Sean Green was really one of our first homegrown superstars in the 90s. I mean, I know we had guys like George Bell and things like that, but Jesse, I don't have much to add, man. Bassy was going to come on here. He didn't. That's fine. Friend of the show, Isaac Bass, Leafs and Lads, with his KC jersey on. I was hoping it would have brought us good luck that he wore it, so we'd end up sweeping them. Because Jesse, I would love a sweep. Because, dude, man, Texas for 4 games, and then another series that escapes me. I think the Red Sox, but the Yankees and the Rays and the Yankees, home and home, man, that's crazy. Jesse and I will be absolutely just if it's getting crunch time, this is going to be some pretty crazy episodes on here. I wouldn't be surprised if things got thrown on screen if when things get down to the wire, man, because things are already getting down to the wire, man. I mean, it's just about midnight, Wednesday, September 6th. So like still a little bit of ball left to play. But when I say a little bit, there's just a little bit of ball left to play, man. We need to play like that 99 win team that's somewhere in there. That's not a statement. That's a question. That's somewhere in there. So I don't know, man. Let's just see what happens. We'll be back after the KC Toronto series and hopefully bring you guys some good news.
It's put up or shut up time. Let's get that sweep, baby. Until then, we'll see you on Sunday night.
Thanks, guys.